So this is a video that will help you identify rhetorical devices. So we're kind of at the point where we're writing these timed essays and we want to make sure that we can read pretty quickly and that we can locate when we're reading 3 rhetorical devices. You really have to only use one example for each of those devices. And so that becomes your essay, right? Rhetorical device 1 is body paragraph 1. Rhetorical device 2 is body paragraph 2. Rhetorical device 3, body paragraph 3. You have your essay. So we need to go back and review all of our rhetorical devices. I'm going to start with juxtaposition, a slide. Juxtaposition is placing 2 different things right next to each other or near each other to make a point. So remember that rhetorical devices can be many things at once, and you just need to, your eye needs to see one of those many things, at least one of those many things. So juxtaposition is used to create a relationship or to point out a relationship, as are many of the devices that we're working with. So remember, it's not just that there's a good and bad or a different A, different B next to each other, right? That's half of thinking about a rhetorical device. It's also that they're creating a relationship with one another. So the author or the writer or the speaker is telling us something in the choice of words and placing those words in juxtaposition, right? The words are juxtaposed. So the noun form of this rhetorical device is juxtaposition. That is the thing. That is when a writer places differing things or opposing things near each other. And the verb form is the words are juxtaposed near each other, or the writer is juxtaposing these 2 things. So you see here we have an older woman and a young baby, and so the old and the young are placed together. If you stopped there, that wouldn't be enough analysis, right? You want to dig into, okay, what new thing is the writer creating out of the juxtaposition? So there's always something new that comes out of the rhetorical device. And here it is perhaps a commentary on life. So you can read into it, and that's where we're getting into analysis, because it's digging deeper, it's connecting to those abstract nouns, those abstract ideas, those universal ideas, and that's where we want to get to in thinking. So again, it's always thinking about the purpose. When you write your essay, you start out by identifying the rhetorical device, you connect it to the meaning, right? And now we have to say, well, what is the purpose of using it here in this essay, in this speech? What is the writer trying to tell us differently with this rhetorical device? It's also used to highlight 2 different ideas. And so we're looking at things that are juxtaposed. It might create a new feeling, a new emotion, a shift in the delivery of the speech, a shift in tone, the writer's attitude. And we talked about how these things are juxtaposed visually, right? We begin to see how there is a new meaning, or getting us to feel or think differently by the way things are juxtaposed. With juxtaposition, we're looking for some key words to set up perhaps a relationship or a contradiction or a contrast or a connection. So this keyword whether, kind of like whether or not, right? So I see the whether, and then soon after I see the or. And so that's, the whether is signaling there's going to be a difference somewhere. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, could be juxtaposition, right? Could be parallelism. We'll get to that in a second. So whether it's well or ill, right? So we have the 2 next to each other, and we're going to figure out what is he saying about that? Why would someone pair the wellness and illness together next to each other? And then we're going to compare it to the rest of his sentence to figure out how it's being used in the sentence. So it's how it's being used just alone, the well and the ill, right, between or. And then we're going to think about the context of where it sits in the sentence and how that well and ill, wellness and illness works in the entire sentence, and then how it connects back to the meaning in the thesis and in your claim. So here we have the and. So instead of the or, the juxtaposition is built by a connection word and. So this time we're going to see, okay, what is on either side of that and? We have human poverty and human life. Okay, and then why are they connected? And then why is it in a sentence with the power, right? So power to abolish. So we're going to figure that out once we dig in, or if we were actually writing the essay. Here we have a juxtaposition with just the word is, okay? So you can choose to say that this is juxtaposition. There are two different things here being compared. There's silence and there's betrayal. However, this is also a metaphor. Is, between two words, is a signal word that there's a metaphor. Something is something else. Right away, your mind needs to think, okay, is a signal. It's a signal for a metaphor. It could perhaps be juxtaposition. Whichever one your brain goes to first, you go with that one. So when something is something else, definitely a metaphor. And then you could say, yeah, it's also juxtaposition. Or you could do both. What is this metaphor juxtaposing? The metaphor is juxtaposing silence and betrayal, two different things to show blank in order to push the audience to think blank and deliver the message of blank. You have half your paragraph, done. But so here, whether or not we go with juxtaposition or metaphor, let's break this down. Silence being passive, not threatening. Betrayal, the exact opposite in its meaning, active and threatening. And so we always want to get to, that's half the analysis, right? The next half is, what is a new meaning created out of that coming together, or that enmeshing when something is just something else? And we have two opposites, right? And they are put together. What new meaning do we have? So think about this. It's like a chef cooking with different ingredients, right? They put the different ingredients together to create this new taste. And that's exactly what our rhetorical devices do. So what is the new meaning? Or what is the new feeling? What is the new emotion? What is the new image? What is the new shift in direction? Or how does this new meaning shift us in direction? How does it relate back to the claim? How does it relate back to the main idea, the message, and the thesis? How does it impact the audience? How does it get the audience to believe in the speaker's message, right? All of those questions, they're part of your analysis in your paragraph. And so if your brain gets to thinking, okay, what are the two things? What rhetorical device is it? What does the device do? How is this proving the message? See, all those questions go together. And then finally, what new meaning is created? Here we have a couple things. Remember, chances are what you're seeing as a rhetorical device will be more than one rhetorical device. Just choose one, or like I did last time, say that this metaphor is juxtaposing, like put them together. So this one, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. So a lot of different things going on here. I'm just going to go with juxtaposition with the two opposing things on either side. It's ask not what you, right, can do for your country, but the two different, the two motives, right, the flipping around of the two different phrases. This could also be parallelism in the repetition of ask, but one goes one way, another part of the sentence goes another way. It could be repetition with the word ask. Again, yes, you notice that ask is repeated, but what comes after the two words that are repeated is the heart of your analysis. And how does what comes after the two pieces of your repetition, how are they related? Are they the same? Are they different? And then you repeat all the questions that I've been talking about so far in the video to create your analytical paragraph. And then in your analytical paragraph, you're thinking, well, why would the writer choose these words specifically? Why this particular rhetorical device? We know that parallelism creates a balance, right? So that word balance, we got to think about what is the writer trying to balance literally in the meaning or the message of her or his speech. We talk about with repetition, perhaps a flow, a rhythm, um, sometimes it is a shift in tone. Tone is related, but if we compare these two things, it's clear that he is creating more description and more of an image around the words than this right here, right? So it becomes, it doesn't just become, don't do this. It becomes, so here, let's do this. So notice it's not don't, it begins with the positive, ask and ask. So I'm always in my head saying, well, what if I wrote this differently, right? Why these words in particular? What if I wrote it? How else could I say this? And then how does that compare to what